WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are positively into football season. It feels good to be getting back on the bike and talking about games and 66-yard field goals in Detroit. And when the schedule came out, we saw this one week 4 out in Denver and thought, well, how good could the Broncos be? Well, how about 3-0 good? We're heading on the plane, 4 o'clock game this weekend. Mike Klis has covered the Broncos for a long, long time out there. You can follow him at Mike Klis. That's Klis out on the Twitter thing. And how many years for the Broncos with you, Mike? It feels like forever.
Yeah, 17 years. I covered baseball, Major League Baseball, Rockies, for 13 years with Colorado Springs Gazette and Denver Post. And then in 2005, I switched over to the Broncos, reluctantly at the time, but glad I did now.
Well, Broncos mania, as I see it, and I've been flying in and out of Denver for 30 years, and I've seen it hot and cold, and I've even seen the Rockies in the Avalanche be, sort of the king of the hill there. When the Broncos start 3-0, and it's sort of out of nowhere because I don't think anybody really was expecting huge things for them, I would think this is going to be a little bit of a madhouse for Lamar this weekend, that they're starting to believe they're good there in Denver.
Yeah, it was a very charged atmosphere this past week for the Jets. And, that was the pandemic unleashing for Bronco fans. Their first home game, they were 2-0 going into the game, and the place was bonkers. About halftime, what they found, and they found this around the country, Nestor, at all the stadiums, by about halftime, everyone stops watching the game and they're out in the concourses and they're just partying. They're just drinking beer for the whole second half. People are just like the football game is just an excuse to go out and party. And I think they'll be more in tune. It was 26-0, 17-0 at halftime in the Jets game. It'll be competitive against the Ravens. I personally, and I'm sure 75,000 others, can't wait to watch Lamar Jackson in person. There's one thing to watch him on TV. It's another to watch him live and in person and all the wondrous athletic things he can do. So there's going to be a great attention, and it is going to be rocking here Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, Mike, I've been doing this from the beginning with the Ravens, and we used to pack a lunch pail and go into any place with Ray Lewis or John Ogden or Joe Flacco or, any number of these players. And it was, I saw Ray Lewis play and I want a ticket, and all that. But the Lamar thing feels like it's a different level that you've already, you're jaded old sports writer guy and you can't wait to get there because if you turn your head, you might miss something with him. And thank God we have replay and all that. But I have now watched him over these 3 years, just when it looks like, oh God, it's 3rd and 18 and how are we getting, and then an ankle breaks and he's gone. And 40 yards later, somebody's chasing him. And these defensive coordinators are preaching the gospel, of stay with him. And then the game starts. And Eric Weddle said to me 2 years ago, Eric practiced against him the first year and was a teammate. And I saw Eric out in LA, and Eric said, we couldn't see the ball. We didn't know where the ball was going.
Yeah.
And I think there's part of that where defense is the identification of what's happening in front of you. And as it happens, the bleeding can happen very quickly if you're not ready for Lamar.
Yeah, they use a big offensive line in front of him. I think that's one reason. He's a magician with the ball as far as play action and his ball fakes. And then he gives you the left leg and takes it away and off he goes. The other thing I noticed this in the Chiefs game and the Raiders game too. You're on back to back out here. He breaks tackles. He's much bigger and stronger than you think he is. And of course, his throwing has been dissected ad nauseum, I'm sure, out there by the Baltimore fans. It looks like he's a very good passer between the seams, not such a good passer on the boundaries. And that probably will continue. But, in the playoffs, he's been a little vulnerable. I think he'll eventually shake that. And, I think it's just one of those things that happens in the playoffs. He's going to win a Super Bowl here shortly. But I know Baltimore's banged up and maybe not quite the team they hoped they would be 6 weeks ago before they started having so many injuries. The Broncos are much better than people thought 2 months ago. So it's going to be an interesting contest. You know, the Broncos are looking at this as, okay, let's stop fooling around now. It's time to get serious. Here come the Ravens. Because their first three opponents, the Giants, Jacksonville, and who did they just beat? The Jets, are combined 0-9.
Yeah, I was going to say those three teams might not get to 12 victories amongst them by the end of the year. Right?
They all have 0-17 look, especially the Jets on offense. So now, and the preseason was kind of the same way for the Broncos. They played the Vikings, Seattle, and the Rams, and those teams didn't play their starters, and the Broncos did. So it's been kind of unfair fights, really, since the start of the Broncos. And now this is going to be a fair fight and see how they do.
Mike Klis joining us here from 9 News in Denver. You can follow him at Mike Klis. He's been covering the Broncos a long, long time. Tens of thousands follow his Broncos coverage. Well, give me a little Broncos coverage here. Teddy Bridgewater, looks like Von Miller's back. They've been trying for 2 or 3 seasons now to fortify the offense. Vic Fangio, former Raven guy, great guy, Vic. I love Vic. What's happened there to make this better? We see Bridgewater from the outside.
Yeah, it's 2 things, and the biggest reason why this team is much improved, despite their week soft schedule early, is Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, he's been he hasn't just been an adequate. Everyone around here thought he'd be an adequate quarterback and wouldn't make mistakes, and that was an upgrade over Drew Lock last year, who has talent and upside, but he makes too many mistakes. Bridgewater has been much more than that. He's been excellent, terrific. There's some kind of stat where against the blitz this year, and Baltimore blitzes a lot, of course, that Kansas City game being the exception. But Teddy's 19 out of 22 against the blitz this year, and all 4 of his touchdowns, no picks. So he's been very good. He's so calm under pressure, and he has a little more rambunctiousness, if there is a word. You can put a ness at the end of every word. Teddy, he moves around more than we thought, and he takes risks. He has scrambled. He's not Lamar Jackson, his fellow Louisville alum, but he does move very well, and he's so quick with his decisions, so accurate. He's been a real find. And then on defense, I would say the biggest difference has been George Payton, the first-year general manager, went out and fortified the cornerback position, and then some. They at the end of last year, their top 3 cornerbacks, the last 4 games were out for injuries, and Boye had a suspension. This year they got 4 of them: Callahan, Ronald Darby, who's hurt. Kyle Fuller is here making big money and doing a good job, and Pat Surtain, the second, he is the first-round draft pick. So they're really loaded at cornerback. The rest of the defense is solid. So the combination of a defense, Teddy Bridgewater, and a soft schedule explains why the Broncos are 3-0 and have outscored their opponents by a combined 50 points.
Yeah, the Ravens have done so much to try to fortify the passing game. I think conversely, Denver's done a whole lot to fortify the secondary. You mentioned Pat Surtain. I remember seeing his dad play. I had Brandon Stokely on earlier, played against him. He is sort of the great hope there, right? Like, I mean, they really expect that this is a lockdown corner they're going to have for a decade.
Yeah, and there was some controversy or discussion. I shouldn't say controversy, but discussion and disagreement on whether they should have taken Justin Fields, a quarterback, or Mac Jones, who went to the New England Patriots. And Peyton opted. I think his decision was if it couldn't be Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, he liked Teddy Bridgewater. This team is so young still on offense. They had Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler are both hurt and significantly hurt. Hamler out for the year with an ACL, Jeudy out for another 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. It's a bad one. But
and Jeudy might have been their biggest weapon on offense, right?
He was going to be. He was terrific all off season, and he was having a heck of a first game against the Giants when he went down. But even Sutton is only 24, 25 years old. Fant is only 23. They've got youth across their offensive line. They needed a veteran mentor. These pups that they have all over the offense, they needed a veteran mentor. And so Teddy Bridgewater made more sense than Fields and Jones did as far as their quarterback. They picked up Bridgewater from the Panthers for a 6th-round pick, plus $7 million of his $11 million salary. Carolina's paying the Broncos $7 million for Teddy Bridgewater this year. Broncos only paying $4 million. So that's turning out to be a steal so far in 2021. That's why Peyton wanted to make, he called it the safe choice. It was the best player. And so far, Surtain looks like he's going to live up to that billing. And, the quarterbacks can go take their lumps with the Bears and the Patriots the rest of the season.
Mike Klis is here from 9 News in Denver. You can follow him at Mike Klis out on Twitter. That's Klis. Been covering the Denver sports scene and certainly the Broncos for going on 2 decades now. For the fans and the franchise and the losing after the Super Bowl, and you guys seem like you win a Super Bowl every decade, it's sort of like us, that you go into it and you come out of it. The Joe Flacco thing didn't work out there so well a couple of years ago. Are they a real contender in the West? Do you see that after these 3? Because we've seen the Chiefs. Obviously, the Chargers look good. We saw the Raiders. You saw that on the opening night as well. I looked at Denver as the worst team in the division. That still might be a worse 9-8 kind of team before it's all over with.
Yeah, I think they got a chance to be better 9-8 when you start 3-0. We'll see what they got here. First of all, I think Teddy Bridgewater is a much better quarterback than people give him credit for, even here. I think you're going to find out that Teddy's a better than top 15 quarterback in the NFL, the way he's playing and the way he can play. He's just now getting his chance. He's not checked down Teddy as he was with Carolina last year. He is pushing the ball downfield. I think they can go 10-7, dare I say maybe 11-6. They go 10-7, I think it might come down to where the Broncos are 4th best team in the AFC West. They might be the 4th or 5th best team in the AFC. It's just a heck of a division over here with the Chiefs haven't gotten going yet. The Raiders are 3-0. Everybody likes the Chargers with Justin Herbert. But I think the Broncos do have a chance this year. The Chiefs will be the ultimate test. They've lost 11 games in a row, 5.5 years since they've beaten the Chiefs. That will be the ultimate test. The Chiefs are 1-2. I'm sure they'll be 10-3 before we know it. But
we thought we had problems beating Mahomes around here.
I saw the game, and that interception. You had 2 big turnovers at the end there. The interception that. While your rookie pass rusher got him and he made an ill-advised throw, that was the turning point of the game. I thought the Chiefs had that game in hand until that turnover. And then Allaire, of course, had the big fumble.
Well, the Ravens could be 0-3 right now. The Ravens are a play or 2 and a 66-yard field goal from being 0-3, and instead we're 2-1 and feel pretty good about ourselves right now.
Yeah, I was going to say they could be 3-0 too. They're the ultimate parity team. Same with the Chiefs. They could be 3-0. They're 1-2. That's the way the NFL is now. All these teams have flaws, and that's why I think the Broncos, I tell you, Nestor, they may not be, they're going to look at Teddy Bridgewater and not take him seriously. I don't think this team has great flaws anywhere. Now they're banged up. They're thin at receiver now. They're not as good at receiver as they were in the opener. Especially with their speed and explosion. They've lost a lot there in losing those 2, Hamler and Judy. Their offensive line, there's 2 guards that didn't practice today, Reisner and Glasgow, and they're both going to be questionable. Glasgow, highly questionable to play Sunday against the Ravens. At corner, they're dinged up. Darby's out. So linebacker, they lost Josie Jewell, a good inside linebacker starter. So they're a little short-handed, but they're top players. You said Von Miller is back. That's been huge in the 3-0 start. He's 32 years old. He had a lot of and he missed all of last year with an ankle tendon surgery. Cortland Sutton, he was their number one receiver, missed basically all of last year with a torn ACL. You don't know how those guys are going to come back. But those two, Sutton and Miller, have bounced back, and Teddy Bridgewater, along with the big-time cornerbacks they've picked up. That's why the Broncos look pretty good, soft schedule or no soft schedule to this point.
Mike, always appreciate the visit. I appreciate you taking some time. We don't get together too often, but when we do, it's usually memorable when the Baltimore and Denver gets together. We were talking about the crazy, the 5 overtime game and the 10 below that game and how cold I was that day. Brandon Stokely didn't like me bringing that up because he was on the Broncos that day, not on the Ravens. But
that pass was intended for Brandon that was intercepted that set up the Tucker field goal. Tucker was a rookie that year, I believe.
That is
correct. He came through with a clutch field goal and double overtime.
You know why he was here? Because Cundiff missed the AFC Championship game kick that would have sent us to the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Cundiff missed that kick, and the next year Tucker appeared, and we haven't had a problem since.
No, you sure haven't. And I remember Tucker took a practice field goal attempt. There was some kind of timeout, and they still did the snap, and he got a practice, but he didn't need it, man. That guy's great. Congratulations to him because he broke Matt Prater. I'm a big Matt Prater fan, and he had the record here in 2013. Even though it was altitude, he had the 64-yarder. It was like 13 degrees. It was almost as cold when Prater kicked the 64-yarder as that Baltimore game with the Flacco fling to Jacoby Jones. Ask John Harbaugh about that today, and I'm sure he can't. As soon as he steps on that field, I'm sure he can't help but think about that tremendous play with 31 seconds left that made the Ravens 2012 Super Bowl champs and not the Broncos. Even though, what was it, 3 weeks earlier, the Broncos went into Baltimore and just smoked the Ravens. They're up 31-3 in that game. And
there was that image of Flacco throwing the pick six, and being
Chris
floored.
Harris.
Being floored.
Yeah, he made a diving attempt at Chris Harris.
Flanking is what we called it, right?
Yeah, that was. You would have never guessed that the Ravens would come back a month later and beat the Broncos in Denver, but that they sandbagged. They sandbagged by getting blown out in that game at Baltimore, and the Broncos. They didn't take them seriously enough for that. I'll never forget that.
I had a conversation with one of the photographers last week at practice about that game. And I was talking about how cold I was. I was up in the press box. I had little heat packs in my gloves. I had gloves on. You could see your breath in the press box is how cold it was in Denver. Yeah. And then the dude said, dude, I was on the field for 5 hours. I don't want to hear about how cold the press box was.
There you go. Yeah.
So I remember being cold that day, and I wasn't even subjected to the elements. Mike Klis is here. He's subjected to all the elements out there in the beautiful Rocky Mountains of Denver, covering the Broncos for 9 News. You can also find him at Mike Klis, Klis, for trusted Broncos information. Have a great game this weekend. Always enjoy the visit, and get out to Red Rocks for me, man. That's a real national treasure you have out there.
I live right down the street. I go there all the time. Usually not for a concert, but for
morning yoga.
I walk. Sometimes I'll walk, or we got people that in town. We always take them there. And but I did see John Prine there a couple times. May rest in peace. But anyway, that's always a bucket list for people.
I saw Tom Petty and Joe Walsh 2 nights in a row. 4 years ago. Tom Petty died about 8 weeks later. So the only time I've ever been to Red Rocks was a twofer, and it was Tom Petty. And I'll get back out there, though. I'm a concert guy. You know that. All right, take care of yourself. Appreciate the time. All right. Mike Klis joining us here from Denver, Colorado on the Rocky Mountain High at 9 News. You can find Luke out at training camp. He's doing the thing in Owings Mills. All of it brought to you by our friends at Royal Farms, real fresh, real fast. And our Wise Conversations and the Maryland Crab Cake Tour comes to Nacho Mama's on Friday in Towson, all presented by the Maryland Lottery. Let yourself play. I'm Nestor. You can find me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, anywhere you are. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore positive.